Hi, this is Big Mama, and I wanted to show you my little golden book journal. It was Dear Julie, Julie's challenge for February this month, and so I'm going to do a flip through of it. Part of the challenge was for us to use this book intact and also to add another children's book or more. And so I had gone to a flea market and had found this Raggedy Ann and Andy, which is a wonder book, and also this Raggedy Ann Tea Party, which is a wonder book, and was able to incorporate the pictures out of that into this for the journal story. And so I'm going to go ahead and get into this flip through and show you some of the things that I have done. I did go ahead and save on the spine this piece here and added it to the back and added the eyelet also. This book was just a little bit of compromised, and so I wanted to strengthen any of the areas where the actual seam was at, and so that's why I went ahead and added, I know it bothered me a little bit about it covering up the where it says Raggedy, but I added the eyelet because her dresses usually had eyelet on it, and then used this material. I used the bookmaker's tape to make a spine and strengthen it, and so this is a 1.5 inch spine that believe it or not, it helped everything to stay in, and it's not going to go boing, 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 like most of my journals do. Sorry, Mimi, who has purchased this already from me. I know you really like it when the journals bust open, but this one is going to be a little bit more restrained. I think it's because Raggedy Ann, she was such a doll. Yeah, that was a play on word. So what I like to do is to add a button. I know some people do the hitching post on here, and so this is my idea of the hitching post, where I stack some buttons to bring in all of the colors here, and then I did the bow and I put the eyelets in the back and run it through. Then when I tie the bow in the front, all I have to do is squeeze this and pull that off of that. And then after I tie the bow, I sew it real secure so you don't have to untie it. You just slip it back over that and close your journal. And I tied it loose enough to where when more things are added in here, then it will still hold it without compromising the spine or pulling the button off. And when I sew the button on, I also like to secure it with a button on the other side and sew it through. And I use the carpet thread so that it's a good strong thread that's going to hold it. Then on the inside here, I had taken and put this placard on here. That's what I call it when you add another piece of cardboard. But I sewed the eyelet on here, and when I sewed the eyelet on, I just caught the bottom part so that it's got like a peekaboo pocket effect to it underneath here. And so these are open, and so don't drop coins in there and hope that they're going to stay. And Mimi told me that when she was a little girl that she had a Raggedy Ann doll, and that this whole journal had just reminded her so much of that. And so in this greeting card that I found at a flea market, it had that little Raggedy Ann doll on it, and I could just see Mimi there at her little cook stove. And so I thought, I've definitely got to put that card in the front here for her to write on. Now this is, we were to use 12 of Julie's digitals, and so I printed on front and back, and I used this page on each one of the signatures, and I made it 5 signatures so that it would spread across the spine here as well as out here, helping it not to bust open like an alligator. And so each one of my signatures then is going to have this on the front. And because we were to use the original book in here, the page is long, but it's 8.5 by 11. When you fold it in half, it's short. And so what I did is I added this onto the edge of it, and then on the other side of it I added these ribbons And so that's where the white underneath here is on the back side of this cardstock. Well, not a cardstock, but a paper pad. And I put that on the back here and added that trim. So that's on each of the signatures, and because I ran out of some of the lace, you'll see that the blue is different on a lot of the signatures because, you know, there's just so much to go around, isn't there? And then here's a journaling spot, and we were to do a 20-inch ruffle. So I took this material and I cut it with my pinking shears, and then I have some old quilt blocks that I took and cut the pieces, little snippets off of it for the match all of the colors, a variety of colors that the children had. And then here's a button and here's a button that I put Julie's digital on, and then glossy accents over it, and then I put a sequins with seed beads on the top of it to create the bling on there. And so I did 20 inches, and so then we were supposed to put it all in the journal somewhere. And so I cut that and have it on the front and the back and in the middle. And we were to keep the signatures. Little Golden Book has 2 signatures, and so 3 folios in each one. So I put the first signature in the front and the second signature in the back, and then in between I have 3 signatures for different things for you to journal. And so I placed in the signatures also, I have a lot of different children's papers, and so I added those in so that the stories that this invokes and the memories that Mimi can write those down. And so I have these school papers, and you'll see those all the way through here. I added the different types of school papers. And I have this stationery. I probably should have just kept this pad down here for you. I got this at an online auction, and I absolutely love it. This is definitely the era I grew up. But Mimi's favorite color is orange, and so I thought, well, I will put that there in the middle so that she can write on. But I also, when I sewed it in, I flipped this little part up so it's got a little tuck in there. And I like how it kind of matches the colors that are here. This book was written in 1980, and so we have some of the 70s colors still lingering on. And so that's the first signature. And now to the back of that, where I have the edge, and then there's some more of the different ribbon. And then what I had tried to do on these next 3 is I have a part of the signature that is going to be just writing. And so I did the children's writing paper and the grid paper for them. And I have that in this first part, and then in the middle part are the different parts of the challenge where we were to do different things. And so this is my square, and this is from the Wonder Book, and this is from Julie's Digital. And this, we were supposed to use a flashcard, and so that's how I did my flashcard. And it's got the square also on the flashcard. And then we were to do a page where we were to collage it. And so I collaged ribbons and snippets from what I've been doing. And I also then added this from the Wonder Book. And this is part of that ruffle. And then we were to make a pom-pom dangle tassel. and we were supposed to add 3 things. And a Dear Julie, Julie Digital. So I put her digital on the button and put glossy accent over it and hooked it to the pom-pom I made out of this yarn. And then I put these little kitty cat on here because the storybook is the little gray kitten. And so I used the little kitty cat charm on there. And then on the I attached it to some of this school paper. And then in Raggedy Ann's tea party, she ended up being hung on a clothesline. She was hung out on the line. And so what I did here, the butterfly is Julie's digital. This is the Wonder Book. And I put, I never use it, and so I forget what it's called. But it's that little paint that everybody hates because, no, I take that back. They don't all hate it. It's just that we forget that it's wet and we smear it. And so if that word comes to me, I'll let you know. But we were to use yarn. And so this is my yarn page. I fussy cut around her, and then I made her where she flips up. I put her on cards, index card, so that you could write on the back of her. And this is on my bubble paper where I blew bubbles. And I put the bubbles on the page and let it dry in the oven, and the bubbles just suspended down in there. And this is some mica powder that I had on the bubbles. And so that's how I did that page. And this is my belly band that I made, and I put rickrack on it. And then this is one of my, we were to do antique tie ribbon technique. And so this was the in and out one. And this is just some of that paper that I showed you from this pad. I took and put ribbon underneath the flap. And then it just drops down and opens to where you can write, and close it up, and you've got that. And then this I received through the mail. Julie had sent me this little page out of a book that she had, and there's the little Raggedy doll. And I thought that was just perfect to put in here. And then there she is on the line. And then this is Julie's digital here that I added to it. And I use the brads to hold this, well, not to hold it in place, but just to accent. I put the brads in the corners and use the rickrack. And then some more writing space in the back of that. And then this is just a tuck that I did. We were to paint on a piece of paper, and so I watercolored on this one and ran ribbon through it. And then this is my book card, and did ribbon up through it too. Some more of those pages to write on. And then on this one, I'm not going to flip every page because I've already showed you that each page, it's got several pages she can write on. And then we were supposed to use the ABCs. So I cut the letters out and put them along here. And this is, I did a video showing how I did these little flowers with the crayon. And then he's from the Wonder Book. And then here is the star that she wanted us to do. And I put this on this paper on the back. And then the word surprise is from the Wonder Book also, and enjoy is from her digital. And I'm filling the pockets because I know who it's going to, and this is an antique card that I had, and this is where we did the pencils. I used a dowel rod and put it in a pencil sharpener, and then I dipped the other end in some pink paint. And just before the paint was completely dry, I used my gold pen and did the ridges on it to where it looked like the metal was then grooved. And that is just using a gold pen on a dowel rod. And I tipped it on the other end using my marker. And the reason why I like adding these old greeting cards, even though it is written in the front, I like the fact that they can also be special on the inside. And this, I hope that you can hear that, is a rattle. And so I thought that was just really adorable. And we were to finger paint, and so I finger paint on the page, and then went back with my pit pen and just did highlighted around where I finger painted. And you'll see that here. And then I stamped the leaves on here and then went back with my Pitt pen around the leaves. And because it bleeds through, I did both sides. And then this one we were supposed to use toothpicks on something. So on her digital, well, let me take this out first so you can see. This is Julie's digital. The words are from the Wonder Book. And I made a little fence here and ran this trim up along the fence. And then it is just, I did it on the index card and did a little pocket here and then just have a little envelope with a card in it for her to use. And then this was also part of the challenge, was we were to do the ribbon technique. And so this is the corner in and out. And then on the back I have, we rise by lifting others, and then the little Raggedy is from the book. And the children who own the book had done a lot of penciling and stuff, and I couldn't quite get that off, so you'll see that the children had fun. And so I will just put her back in behind the fence like that. And then this one is the over the page loop. And so I made, using Dear Julie, Julie's digital, I just took her digital and folded it. It was side by side. And so I just folded it in half so that the other side was on the back and glued them together with the glue stick. And then went back with the paper lace and trimmed around it. And then he is from the Wonder Book. And so that's how I did the different colors on each side, only because I was limited on how much I had. And then I just did a paper clip with some of that yarn on it to hold that there on that page, but it is a traveling card. And then on the back, I just slipped this playing card here that I got in the mail from Julie. And this is the stationery that I showed you. I just put it in an envelope so that she could write on it. And then this is the other half of that ABC page that I put here. And more of those writing pages. And then this signature. I love it that you guys are so patient with me. Got the grid paper and writing paper. And I took my ink pad, and it was a square ink pad, and blotted it. And then I went back and kept inking and inking and inking with my little, I took tape and taped it off, and then just kept inking it until it looked like a chalkboard. And then went back with my paint and did the 1, 2, 3s on there. And then stamped the 1, 2, 3s on here, and then made this a pocket using the book page out of the school book, and put this on here. And then inside is another piece of that stationery because she loves orange and I want to spoil her rotten. And so this is Julie's digital here and here. And I wrote this here so that this is our paint by number. And so I put on him in different places, you know, the numbers and what the color was. And then I put this picture here so that you can match up the colors. And then this is where we were to do an oval. And so this is my oval and her digital, and then the Wonder Book. And I turned it into a shaker card, but as you can see, there's plenty of places where she can write, and so that goes in this peekaboo pocket. And here is my circle This was the page out of the Raggedy Ann and Andy. As you can see, it had that in it. And so this was the first page. So I cut where it had the Wonder Book information. I just cut that circle and then put her digital here and made that a inside pocket. And then this is another one of the ribbon ideas that we were supposed to do. And so I made it to where you've got other places to write. And then I also backed the paper with this yellow paper. And we were to do dots. Well, not dots. We were to do a rolling stamp. So I took a bottle and I put stickers on it that were just circles, and I inked it with my alcohol ink, Distress Oxide, and rolled it along there on the edge, and then went back around where I rolled it to emphasize, because there's that, and the balloons are on here. And then I went across the back of the page this way. And then this is my fabric that I used in here. I had this napkin that had the yellow around it. And so this is all from the Wonder Book. And I embroidered here the thread to hold the balloons. And then this is Julie's digital. And so I added those all together and made this just a scrappy notebook. That's a side flip, or maybe a waterfall. I don't remember all of the accurate names for these details, but I do know I did them. And then this is the bow that we were supposed to make with the antique ribbon idea. And so what I did was I added, this is from the Wonder Book, and made it a little top tuck. This is just a card that I had to go up in there. But this is Julie's digital. And her digital here had this quilt trim on it. So I cut and left that little bit of white edge to it, so that when I put it on the page, first I did the ribbon technique, and then I brought this down and I glued it, and then I fussy cut around them to make this pocket here, and then trimmed it with this paper lace right here. And here we were to do a domino effect, and so I made this. I have an old antique. I don't know if you can really see the ridges here or not, but this was from an old antique photo album. I cut the photo album and I made these ridges in it, and then I just used the end of my paintbrush and did the dots on here so that I had the dominoes. And so that then I made it, this is part of the Wonder Book here, and then her digital is here. And so I just made that a tuck on the edge. And then this is another one of the ribbon techniques. And what I did here, this is the single loop instead of a double bow. This is a single one that I put on here, and just made that a little card. And I cut just the front with the fancy edge scissors, and then you can open it up and journal on the inside too, as well as here. So I slid him in here, and then I just added a envelope with so that she wants to print off a picture, maybe her as a little girl with her doll, she could do that. And this was a page out of that school book, and so I thought that that was cool. It wasn't required at all, but I thought that that really was cool to add that to the where we were supposed to do the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. I thought that was cool, and so I just put this little card in there to add the wonderful colors that go with the children's book. And I like that it had the little rhinestones in there too. And more writing space. And the last section is that storybook. And I trimmed out some of the pages with that paper ribbon. And I ended with the last of the ruffle that we were, that 20-inch ruffle. I ended it with that. So you got that sparkle on the very end. And signed it. And here I put a card, and I just thought that the colors were really nice in it. But it says, "May kindness return to you in the same beautiful way that it was given. Thank you so much." And thank you, Mimi, for dibsing this journal. I know that it's going to a home that it will be loved. And thank you, all of you wonderful people that are watching this. I hope that something in here has inspired you. It was fun to get back to our childhood and do some of those things that I'd never even dreamed of getting away with, like blowing bubbles. That was not something I was allowed to do when I was little. Probably because I didn't have the right bubbles. I love you guys. You have been just absolutely wonderful to cheer me along, and I love watching all of the videos that are out there. Thank you. And I'm leaving you now. I got to go do the mini challenge in the challenge, or I won't qualify this month. Bye-bye.